spring cleaning. Goals for mind, body, and spirit. Be more mindful of my habits. Good morning, gentle viewer. It's time for another Lifestyle Friday. Since it's the end of March, I thought I'd share some of my goals for April. And my goals for April are going to be all about awareness. So it's going to cover financial, personal, career, and how I can be more aware and more mindful when I make decisions in all of those areas. So let's get started. And one of my big goals for my home life this month is spring cleaning. And I personally love spring cleaning, not the actual cleaning itself, but the concept of spring cleaning. I don't really adhere to a strict cleaning schedule except for very certain areas. So those things that never really need to get done, dusting the ceiling fans and washing the curtains. So because those things don't need to be done at certain times, they tend to never get done. So spring cleaning is just a good mental reminder to give some attention to those areas of my house that don't need regular attention. So on their website, the Happy Planner actually shared a printable, and it basically helps you plan out a week's worth of spring cleaning by focusing on different areas each day. But I also went ahead and made a more specialized list for our house in particular. And all I did was divide it up by room, and then in each room, what needs to be done. And this is just some printer paper that I got at the Dollar Tree, and then I wrote my list out on it by hand. And one of the areas is to go through all of my clothes and set aside some for donation. So I have a bonus goal of donating all those clothes to Goodwill at the end of the month. The spouse bot and I have already gotten a head start on our spring cleaning, and I think it's going really well so far. One thing I really liked about the Happy Planner blogs printable is that it includes not just a cleaning goal, but also goals for mind, body, and spirit. But it also got me thinking about, well, what are some habits that I have that I really want to nurture? Or what are some habits that I have that I really want to let go of? So another habit I want to keep track of in April is monitoring my water intake. So for the past week, I've been kind of doing an experiment where I tracked how much water I was drinking. And it turns out I wasn't drinking as much as I thought. I'm very good at drinking in the morning and in the evening, but there's a time span of the day from about noon to 4 p.m. where I didn't even touch any kind of liquids. So I just made this printable up and printed it on some cardstock. It's just day 1 through 30 and it has these little water droplets. I'm just gonna check off how much water I drink each day. So one of my goals for the year has been to visit the library every month, and so far that's been panning out well. So one thing I wanna start doing is keeping track of which library books we have out and when they're due. And it's just to help foster that habit. And if I save these lists at the end of the year, it'll be a really easy way to go back and finally compile that books I read this past year list that I always say I'm gonna do but never actually happens. Also to make sure we don't incur any late fees. Speaking of finances, another thing I want to track for the month of April is my online shopping. I personally love shopping and I love online shopping. I love the convenience of it, and more, I really like being able to find exactly what I'm looking for. Sometimes I want something that's a specific size or a specific color, and when I do it online, it's really easy to compare object to object, store to store, and price to price. We're living in a small town right now, and all those great stores I love to shop at, like Target or Michael's, are an hour away, so it's very convenient. But one thing I noticed is that I have lately been using online shopping as a procrastination method. So I created this printout, and it's just on some cardstock. So what I'm gonna do is just mark the days where I make an online purchase. And again, this isn't about restricting myself or doing a no spend month or anything like that. It's just helping me be more mindful of my habits. And on the back, I created this chart. So on the first column, I'll list the date and time. The second column is what website I made the purchase from. The third column is what items did I purchase. Then I list the amount. And these last two are going to be most important. Next to last one is what was I doing before before I started online shopping. And the last column is what mood was I in when I did the online shopping. Because I have the suspicion that I'm doing it when I'm a little bit bored or a little bit anxious. And if that's the case, instead of reaching for online shopping as a coping mechanism, I can reach for a coping tool that's healthier and more in line with my personal values and my personal goals. And I think this tracking chart is definitely going to help me do that. At the end of it, I'll be able to look back, and then once the month is over, I can then evaluate, well, what do I want to do about that? What are some actions that I can take to make sure I'm fostering my good habits? Now, I think the best goals and to-do lists also have some simple, fun items that are easy to check off, and you do them just because you want to. So in addition to all this financial and personal growth, I'm also going to be finally purchasing some houseplants for the house. I really love houseplants. So I'm just waiting for the gardening centers in our local stores to open up so I can bring some beauties home. So in addition to buying and nurturing some houseplants, this year I'm also going to try growing my own plants from seeds. In the past, I have purchased starter plants from gardening centers and grown them that way, and I had some great success with that. This year I really want to try and be a little bit more ambitious. So I found a bunch of gardening supplies at the Dollar Tree. I found pots of various sizes, seeds, they had potting mix, soil mix, everything I needed to get started. So that's another thing I'm going to be trying this April. I've also been working on crocheting a couple of scarves, one for my mom and one for my mother-in-law. This is the yarn I'm using. This is the Mandala yarn, and I'm hoping to have those 2 scarves done in time for Mother's Day. So that's another thing I'm going to be working on this April. I'm also going to be working on my Camp NaNoWriMo project. If you haven't already read it, I wrote a guest piece for the official NaNoWriMo blog. I'll put the links in the description, talking about the 3 reasons I love camp even more than I love regular NaNoWriMo. So that's the end of this video. I hope you'll consider subscribing and liking this video before you leave. And if you're making some goals for April, leave them down in the comments. I hope your weekend is full of creativity and positivity, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!